KH squared. KH squared.
Welcome back to the KH Square Show. I'm Mike, and always here with Kenny. Got a great episode for you tonight. Once again, we have the great Garland Brown of Maury County, Tennessee, National Teacher of the Year Award for the JFK Lancer Research Group, and he's been a teacher in Maury County for almost 31 years. So he's got a lot of knowledge, and we're really excited that he's here. We're glad to have you.
Of course.
So welcome.
Great to be here.
So who are you, Garland? Tell us, where are you from?
I am a local boy, born and raised in Columbia, Tennessee. Actually grew up right down the street here on Council Pike, Trousdale Lane area. Attended College Hill Elementary School, where my principal was the great Horace O. Porter. H.O. Porter was my principal. Went from there to Whitthorne Junior High School. And then matriculated at Columbia Central High School in Columbia, Tennessee, and graduated from Columbia Central in 1988. Left Central High School in 1988, and I went to Tennessee State University. And in 1993, I graduated from Tennessee State University with my degree in criminal justice. I worked for the juvenile court here in Maury County. I worked for the Tennessee Commission on Children and Youth. I worked for Columbia Cares Incorporated. And finally, in 1995, I was asked by my principal, Glenn Stewart, to go to work at Central High School to teach criminal justice. And that's where I've been for the last almost 31 years now.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So what got you into teaching?
Number one, I come from a teaching family. I have three aunts that are teachers. My great-grandmother was a teacher. There are about 7 or 8 of my cousins who are teachers. I have uncles who are teachers.
Yeah. So blood.
Teaching is something that's in my blood, and I never thought about going into teaching. And Mr. Hardy Lloyd, late great Hardy Lloyd, who was principal of Central High School, told me on my last day of school, he said, Brown, he said, why don't you get your teaching degree and come back out to Central High School?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, one day you can be principal of Central High School. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. I wanted to go into law. I wanted to, actually, my dream was to be a lawyer. Oh, wow. And I studied constitutional law in college and got accepted into Vanderbilt Law School, but I did not want to, the price tag at that time, which is way worse now, stopped me from actually going. And I said, well, maybe I can come back home. Mm-hmm. And I worked here in Columbia for 2 years before I got into teaching, and it just so happened that the job opened up, and I interviewed for it and got hired for it. And I've thrived. I hope I've thrived in that role.
Well, I would say so. 31 years. You've thrived.
I mean, you definitely did. Because I even had you as a teacher, and I learned a lot. I loved going to his class every day, cutting it up with Mr. Brown, and just learning something new every day. And it was always a good time in there.
Yeah,
I'm glad to have you as a teacher.
Well, I try to make my class, I try to make it relevant. The law is boring. Okay, now I hate to say that. It's boring. When you get into the intricate details of the law, it's boring. Mm-hmm. So I want to make my class as interesting as possibly can, where I incorporate things that are going on currently.
That's pretty cool.
Into the lessons, because as you guys know, you in the criminal justice field, it is something going on every day in criminal justice, every day.
And it's always changing. It's always revolving.
And it's always changing.
Yeah, he on the road, and I'm at the sheriff's office, so we see a lot of different things every day, like you said.
So have you always taught just criminal justice, or?
I've just taught criminal justice. And currently, one of the things we was talking about earlier, I'm the longest tenured criminal justice teacher in Tennessee.
Wow.
I'm the dean now of all the criminal justice teachers, which is kind of scary.
I think you need a statue.
Well, I don't know about that.
In front of Central.
You give me some more money.
Hey, we're going to get the money. We're going to get the money.
No, they need to put a statue of Hardy Lloyd at Central.
Yeah.
That's who deserves it. Mr. Chamberlain, Mr. Craig. Central High School had legendary teachers. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I could go back 50-something years with the teachers because the education profession now is a revolving door.
Yeah.
Teachers used to stay in their job for 30, 40, 50 years. You know, I had two of my teachers in school taught school in Maury County for 50 years. And that's Mr. Dillard, Coach Dillard. Any older people in Columbia, Tennessee would know who Coach Dillard was. Coach Dillard coached football at Whitthorne, and he's the man who's responsible for Batman Kelly even becoming an athlete.
Okay. Yeah. We got some boards actually in our office at football locker room.
Okay.
And we got his name on
Batman Kelly, you know, to my generation of folks that grew up here in the 70s, Batman Kelly was like Superman.
Mm-hmm.
All right, it's two people, and as far as football is concerned, in Murray and Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it was Batman Kelly and Manuel Young, you know. So those two guys right there were people that we remember. And the other teacher, got to mention her name. She taught school 50 years. She taught my grandmother, my father, and me. And that was Miss Alma Johnson, she started teaching at College Hill back in the 30s.
Really?
And she retired, I want to say she retired maybe in 89 and 90. So she taught multiple generations of people.
Man. That's a long time, 50 years.
Yeah, that's real long time.
Yeah. She's dedicated just like you are. You know?
So what's your current position in the school system?
I am currently a teacher.
Just teacher,
just a regular instructor of criminal justice.
Okay.
2018, I was assistant principal for 6 months. And I got to see the administrative side, that's something that a lot of longtime teachers don't even get to see, is the administrative, the end of it, which is different than the classroom end of it.
Mm-hmm.
You're dealing with everybody. You're dealing with your bosses downtown. You're dealing with the teachers in the school. You're dealing with the students, and you're dealing with the parents. So it's a multi-pronged thing that anyone who is doing it, I tip my hat to them because they do a very hard, laborious job that many people don't really, you know, see that part of it, and they condemn or criticize principals all the time, but they have a very difficult job.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I got a question. So I'm hoping that this video goes out to a lot of people, but especially teachers, people who are currently in the field or looking into it, getting into that position. What's something that you could tell someone that wants to be a teacher, like advice or something to do to better themselves or to help them grow, I guess?
I would tell, this might not be a good day to ask me that because, you know, I've teaching school, I'll tell someone who wants to go into it this. Teaching you only get paid 10 months a year. Yeah. Okay? So you have to have something to be able to fall back on.
Especially today's world.
In today's world, you know, a teacher cannot buy a house on their salary. People need to understand
That's
that.
sad,
Right now in Maury County, we are having a tough time trying to retain teachers because most people come here, get started. Williamson County, Rutherford County, they call it Davidson County, it's called. So people try to get out of it and go up to those areas. So it's very difficult into getting people to come to local rural areas. And Maury County is not rural anymore. It's it's going to come up, but it's not paying the same thing
as those other ones.
As the other ones. You guys at the sheriff's department, and I'm getting off track here a little bit on that question, but you guys at the sheriff's department, y'all been getting raises. Yeah. But when it's time to give teachers a raise, the county sits back like this and says, well, the state gonna give y'all a raise. You know, and then they have almost caught y'all up to teachers. Matter of fact, I know some folks that work for the sheriff. I know some people that work for the sheriff's department is making more money than I am.
Really?
Which I'm not mad about that because they need to pay people at the sheriff's department. They need to pay our public servants anywhere. Law enforcers, the nurses, you know, they need to pay those people. We need to make more money and
for sure.
to keep people there because you guys lose people too.
Yeah.
Oh,
So we need to make sure we're doing everything we can to retain all of our public servants, but our teachers especially, because we've had, you know, you're gonna keep having turnover over there. But I would tell somebody that that's coming into education, you know, to have thick skin, make sure that they are able to survive.
Yeah.
And you know, don't kick themselves when they, they feel like they're not useless and not being able to do what they can, and just hang in there.
Well, you say that, I was thinking back when you said they go to the other counties, which is, got more money in those counties.
Right.
They also, another reason on the sports side of teachers, they going because of the facilities. Way better. And they got, just all around better players too. Because they want to go to them kind of schools. And I think that's another reason why a lot of them leave. Because we had a lot to go through Withorn and Central that left to go to bigger schools and got more money.
Well, a lot of people,
big thing too.
a lot of people look at the athletic end of it, and what I try to tell people is, if you can play, they're gonna come find you.
Yep, that's right.
If you can play, they're gonna come get you. My uncle coached football at Tennessee State University. I have an uncle who played football for Tennessee State University back in the 1960s when TSU was TSU, and he played with Eldridge Dickery, Claude Humphrey. Y'all don't even know who they are. Claude Humphrey was third pick in the draft, 1968 draft. His quarterback, Eldridge Dickey, was the first black quarterback ever drafted in the first round.
Really?
So he was an collegiate All-American at Tennessee State. He went into coaching. My uncle recruited Bo Jackson.
Okay, wow.
His area was from here south. So he recruited Bobby Humphrey. He recruited those guys to play at Tennessee State. So he was going, Bo Jackson was in Bessemer. That's the country.
Yeah.
I mean, the real country,
Yeah.
and he told a story about Bo Jackson's brother was better than he was.
Really?
And he just was hard-headed. He couldn't get his academic end straightened out. But if you want to play a sport, they can come get you. And with Central High School, Batman Kelly, Chicago Bears. My classmate Peebles. His daddy played with Joe Namath and wound up playing for the Miami Dolphins. I mean, this guy's have come out of Central High School to play pro ball, play college ball. But Dan Ugler, a Shaq. You got guys that come out of here to do it, but everybody's not gonna play professional football.
Right.
Everybody's not gonna play college football.
It's like that 1%.
But the thing that you want to do is you need to get your mind together, because you're gonna use your mind a whole lot longer than you're gonna use your body.
That's for sure.
Your body break down on you. A real quick story for y'all. I went to college. First day I was in college, I was going through the line in the cafeteria, and the lights dimmed, and I looked. And right beside me was this guy, 6'7", 350. His name was Larry Tharp. Larry Tharp played for the Arizona Cardinals and played for Pittsburgh Steelers. On this side was Robert Porcher. Robert Porcher was 6'5", 250. And I looked, Robert Porcher was 6'5", 250 and could run faster than I could. And I was running 4'6".
Golly.
So when you think you can do something, you can only go up there and play. Now, somebody want to go for the competition.
Yeah.
I can understand that. But if you can play, they're gonna find you anywhere. My man Daniel Booker, he was like, I'm worried I ain't getting nobody. Dude, you ran for almost 400 yards in that playoff game.
In one
Somebody
game.
saw that.
Yeah, they saw it.
They saw that. You gonna get noticed next year. But I said, what I need you to do, you need to get that ACT down, baby. And once you get that ACT down, and you make a 21 on the ACT, people gonna beat your door down.
They'll be all over. Yeah.
You ain't got to worry about it.
He a hell of an athlete too.
Yeah, his daddy was. His uncles were.
Yeah.
See,
Danny. I remember Danny.
See, you got Dan, then you had Rodney. Big Rodney was all state as a nose tackler. If Big Rodney would have been 6 foot or taller, Big Rodney would have went to the NFL.
Man.
Yeah. he had an uncle that was running 4.2s.
4.2.
Yeah. Legitimate. I'm talking about legitimate. I'm talking about legitimate 4.2.
Yeah.
That's pretty fast.
As fast as it get.
Yeah. But I mean, life got the life in with them, and it's hard to go to college. It's not easy. I'm not gonna tell anybody it's easy to go to college, because it ripped me in half. I had enough common sense and guts to like, hey, I need to step my game up. And then, you know, when I did that, then good things started happening.
Right.
So, what's some things you do outside of school? Like, what do you do for fun? Is there anything?
What do I do for fun? Teach school is what I do for fun. No, I'm if most people know me, they know 3 things that I do. They know about me knowing about the Kennedy assassination. They know about me.
We're gonna get to that.
About me being a big Prince fan, and I can dare say that I'm probably, you know, one of the few people in this area that have a Prince collection as large as I do. And
Yeah.
And the third thing is that, you know, I deal with that paranormal stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that too. Oh man, that's pretty cool.
And I'm also, the last thing I'll tell you, and I forgot to tell you this earlier, is that I call myself an amateur historian. And I've gotten into genealogy and traced, you know, my roots back, and as a result of that, I'm kind of getting into some history of Murray County.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Because my family history is Murray County family history. You know, and Murray County is old, man. You know, right down the street down here, the Civil War was fought up and down that road. So I mean, people don't really realize it.
Yeah, I don't think I knew that. I mean, I knew about what's that a place over there?
It's an Elm Hill.
Yeah. That place. I'm from Alabama, so I've only been up here a few years, but there's a lot of history here for sure.
Yeah.
I think Columbia known to be one of the biggest city in Tennessee that had the most antebellum homes.
Yeah, Columbia at one point in time, you know, when Tennessee first started, was being considered to be the capital of Tennessee.
Oh wow!
And the money, the agricultural money interest that moved here from North Carolina. Tennessee used to be part of North Carolina, and when you had a lot of folk, the main people that settled Tennessee was from Virginia and North Carolina, and they were wealthy. And you get into, you know, the most known name is Polk.
Yeah.
So the Polk family, man, it was from all down 43 Polk Memorial Garden areas where one of his sisters lived and daughters, and then another one lived down in Router and Snap. So all of these antebellum homes and stuff. The good thing about Tennessee was the last state to get out of the Union and first state to get back in it. So Sherman didn't burn it down.
Man.
So, you know, we still have our stuff.
All right, so I know we were talking before the show, and you said you had kind of had some experience in the paranormal, ghost hunt type stuff. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, supernatural stuff, you know, it's kind of spooky. And people have different religious convictions about it as well. And I'm not, you know, foreign to that, and I'm one of those people. But when I started teaching at Central in 1995, the custodians there at the time, Miss Trish and her sisters were working there, and we had custodians that worked at Central that worked there for decades, and they would tell you these things that happened at night, you know, when they was cleaning up at night. And you know, I was like, oh wow. First time I ever heard it, we had a program, and we were cleaning up after the program was over, and Miss Trish was in there, and she said, I'm glad y'all in here with us. And I'm like, you scared of somebody coming in? She said, I ain't scared of somebody, I'm scared of something. And she started telling us these stories. And I'm like, what? I went to school there. I ain't never heard that before.
What kind of stories were they telling?
Well, she told a story about, you know, they were cleaning up one night, and she said it was a big thunderstorm that hit, and it was raining, pouring down rain, and they cleaned up, and they was getting ready to go home. And when they left, it's muddy footprints going down the hall. And she said, it was like, well, who came in here with this mud on their feet? And they come out to get the mops and stuff, got the mop water ready to come back in to clean up, and it was gone.
Wow.
She told us, one of her sisters told a story about mopping one night, and she said she's touched on the shoulder by a lady. She said the lady waved by to her. She said, "Oh, bye, hon," and said that she looked, and the woman kept walking. You could see the top part of her body, but you couldn't see the bottom.
Oh no!
They were actually seeing disembodied spirits. I've only seen one thing that I thought was a ghost. And you know, and I was telling you about the situation happening in my class. Well, anyway, 4 years later, I moved into the metal building in Central.
Okay.
Which was the back building.
The back building in Central.
I remember
They call
walking
it
up
the metal
the hill
building.
to it. Yep.
And I went to the metal building in Central, and I was in class one day, and I want to say this was probably around 07. And while class was going on, I started noticing it was just this weird light that was going on in the corner room. And to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, I used to take my notes, and you might remember this. I would take notes and cut the lights off, and it'd be on the screen. Take notes doing it. And I noticed it looked like somebody had their brake lights on, and it was shining through the window outside. And I was looking, and I was like, ain't nobody out there. What's causing that? So I kept teaching. The normal thing when something happens, you just keep on going. I kept teaching, and we kept doing what we was doing. All of a sudden, it turned from this reddish, pinkish color light, it turned into a gold colored light. Well, I'm sitting up there looking at that, and I'm like, I'm not paying attention to that anymore. So I'm teaching, and on the wall, I saw a shadow. It looked like a man's shadow was up there, but it was nobody standing up to be able to cast that shadow up there. So
this was kids in there.
Students was in the classroom. And I said, it was one young lady. I'm not gonna call her name out because she lives here in Columbia, but she was kind of a big girl, and she couldn't sit in the seat, so she had a seat facing, and she was writing her notes out on the desk, but she was talking to the girl who was behind on this side. And I said, hey, you need to go on and get finished with the notes so we can go to the next slide. And she said, okay, Mr. Brown. And it tapped on her shoulder. And she turned around and talked to the girl who was right here, who was sitting on this. And I said, she didn't touch you. It's whatever that was standing behind you.
Class dismissed. Yeah.
And it's Mr. Brown, you just lying. You lying. And one person, it was JV, he said, Mr. Brown, I've been trying to figure out what that was for the last 20 minutes. I said, did you see that too? He said, yeah. He said, I've been trying to figure out what that was. He said it was turning colors and stuff on the wall, and then that shadow showed up. And that was the end of class for that day. So, you could be in a metal building. You could be in a metal building by yourself and hear people talking. And I never will forget this. We had a family reunion meeting, and it was on the weekend. And they let me use the room to have this meeting in it. We couldn't go in the hall because the alarm would go off. But I used to be able to get in my back door. So we're having this meeting, and my cousin's like, who keeps looking in the window?
No.
And I said, we're the only. She said, who else is up in there with us? I said, we're the only people up here. And she said, somebody keeps looking in the window.
Got my head itching.
Now, I saw it. I saw it, and I didn't pay no attention to it. I said, okay. And I said, she said, somebody just looked in the window. Who's out there? And she got up. I said, listen, ain't nobody out there. Don't worry about what's out there. And she said, no.
That's something he would say too.
I'm worried about it. She said, because it keeps looking in the window. And it wasn't nobody. It was whatever it is up in the metal building. Well, the night that I just showed you the picture, and I wish I could put that picture up on the screen.
We can do it for sure.
And that picture, the night that all of that happened, we're in the metal building, and at the same time that picture was being taken, we were all in the metal building. And we had a medium to come down at night.
Oh, wow.
I'm skeptical.
Explain to them what a medium is.
A medium is somebody who can see ghosts. Now, I'm skeptical of this.
Yeah.
I'm skeptical of all that ghost stuff. And the reason why the team that I use, which is Volunteer State Paranormal Research Group, the reason why I use them is because they try to debunk everything before they come up and say, oh, that's a ghost. Because everything is not a ghost. We found a lot of rats in the auditorium of the old building, and rats was causing noises and stuff, and we figured out a lot of stuff that was going on in there. But this medium, he would bring a different medium down every time. So it wasn't the same person coming in there, it was a different medium. The medium comes in, and she says, I know who you are, just let me go through the school. And I said, hey, now Old Central, Black Dog. We didn't have motion detecting lights come on when you move. It was Black Dog. She went to
flip the lights on.
Yeah, she went to the school, Black Dog, and about 30 minutes later, she comes running around the corner. She was like, what's going on right here? And I said, what do you mean? And she said, she took me down to the classroom, and she said, this room right here, the door opened, and a girl asked me, she said, are you our teacher? And she said, no, baby, I'm not your teacher. And she said, hey, guys, girl was turning around and closing the door. She said, hey, guys, she's not our teacher either. And she looked in there. It was a classroom full of kids in there.
Dang.
Now, the reason why that was strange, earlier that morning when I got to school, the custodian that opens the doors said, hey, you doing one of those spook hunts tonight? And I said, well, yeah. He said, come here, I'm going to show you something. He said, when I was getting ready to open this door opened right here by itself this morning. So the people that was working there at night, they see all kinds of stuff around there. One of the last ones that we did when we did most of the majority of these paranormal investigations before they tore the old building down, and they wanted to see if they had come back to the new building.
Yeah.
So they have, and to be we had. The first lady who came to the first one that we did, first medium, he let her come back.
Okay.
She came back. And have you been in the new building?
Yeah.
When you go in the new building where the cafeteria is, coming around that corner into going toward the gym, she was walking around and she said, I just love coming out here because she said, this place right here is electric. She said, it's so much going on out here. And
That's so weird to me, though.
And she turned that corner and she said, oh, we got somebody already. And she starts talking to the wall. And I'm like, and she says, who are you? And she said, what's your connection to the school? And she's having a conversation with him. She said, well, you're welcome to join us if you want to. And we went on down to the gym and I'm looking around and I'm not seeing anybody, and she says, I said, who was that? And he said he doesn't have a connection to the school. He's just here to see what happens next. Okay, this is in 2019. It was before COVID.
And she's the only one that can see this person?
She was the only person that could see who she was talking to.
Okay.
Well, at the end of the night, she wasn't really even supposed to tell me
person.
a ghost. She really is not
yeah,
supposed to tell me that. She's supposed to wait until we debrief at the end. But she went ahead and told me this because I had been in a group before. She said, I'm going to draw you a picture. This lady was an artist. And she came back and drew a picture. And I said, I've seen this picture before. And she said, where did you see it? And I said, here. And I went, because he is online. He's in the internet. Pulled his picture up. She said, that's exactly who I saw.
Who was he?
Senator Whitthorne, that Whitthorne Junior High School, Whitthorne Middle School's name.
No.
It was who?
Whitthorne.
Oh, man.
But he said he wasn't here. He didn't have any connection to this school. He was just here to see what happened next. And lo and behold, COVID and everything that's going to happen since then. And that to me, to this day, still freaks me out. Now, in the new building, we've had multiple principals over the last 5 years. Beginning of school of 21, 22, we had 3 new principals there. And at the beginning of school that morning, I was standing up in the main lobby and we were talking. And it was Officer Duke, Sheriff's Department. He was standing up in there with us and we were just sitting there talking. And it was like we were standing instead of sitting like we are now. And it was 2 people on this side right here. So it was 5 of us. And we kind of made like a star shape, I guess, whatever. And the assistant principal was talking and all of a sudden it was just this thing, just like a fog come up out of the ground right there. And she said, well, what was that? And I said, if you're going to be here, you need to get used to that. Yeah. And, she was like, I don't know what that is. But I've been at Central. We were doing Mule Day. The Mule Day, Miss Mule Day or something was out there. And I was at Central and they kept having I said, I'm not
talking about last week?
No, this was a couple years ago. It was one of those Mule Day things that they do.
I got
you. And I was in the main office because I said, if you guys need some help, here's my phone number. Call me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm down in the main office, and I get a call to go down there and help them with the sound. So I go down there, and when I come back, I'm getting ready to go into the office. So I got my key out to open the door, and I hear something go down the house. Somebody running.
Mm.
I was like, oh, okay, y'all finna come out and play tonight, I see.
So you wasn't you so used to
I done
it.
got used to
Even
it.
scared
Yeah,
no more.
I done got used to it. And I go back in there, and a few minutes later, they had something else happen. I had to go back down there again. When I was getting ready to go back into the office again, came back the other way running. I was like, okay. I said, y'all keep on playing. I said, don't bother me. You know, went on
You
by
know
my
what's
business.
crazy about that to me though? Like, as growing up going to school, most kids, you know, some of them be happy to be in school, but a lot of them don't want to be in school.
Mm-hmm.
You'll think if you a kid or whatever, why would you want to stay there? You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
It's just weird. I mean, but like you said, the width on him, I mean, obviously he was an adult.
It's people, I don't want to get into it because it's hurtful and sacrilegious and all this other kind of stuff. And I don't like bringing up names, but we've had students to die and they be back in school.
That's one thing I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Like, is that like is there a history of that, or why there would be ghosts on quote unquote there?
I have no idea, but I will tell you this right here. And going into my religious background, because I am a Christian.
Me too.
Okay, and the people that we have come down to do this, they are Christians too. And we pray before and after we get finished. I'm not lying. I mean, we do. I mean, it's serious too.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that I have found out is that they were in the library and we were doing a session, and somebody said, how many ghosts are here with us tonight? And it said 7. And somebody said, well, how many spirits are here? And they said, well, 5. And then the question was, spirits. Somebody said, is there a difference between spirits and ghosts? And they said, yeah, ghosts used to be people like you. Because spirits ain't never been people. And that's when I got scared.
Yeah, I don't mess with
Because
It's kind of like what Harold said. Look,
Yeah.
Harold
I mean,
said the same thing
when-
about ghosts and spirits being different.
they different. I mean, that's real talk.
Mm-hmm.
And when I moved into my new classroom down in vocational building, I would have a problem down there with the water turning on by itself. And I had this one girl, she's like, I'm leaving them ghosts. There ain't no such thing as ghosts. And the water turned on. She jumped over the table and almost busted her head. And I told her, I said, you know, you can believe in what you want to believe in. I can't make you, I don't want to make you believe in it. When you see it, and she's like, Miss Brown, you weren't playing. I said, no, you said wanted to see it and did it. Well, anyway, they came back and did a paranormal investigation over that.
Mm-hmm.
When they did it, the medium that came that night, when we set the cameras in the room, she said, whoa, what are you? She said, I ain't never seen nothing like you before. And I'm like, looking around, I'm like, okay, I'm getting kind of nervous. And she said, oh, it's nothing harmful. And I said, well, what is it? She said, it's a water spirit. And, I hesitate to say anything because people look at you like you're a fool.
Like you crazy.
Like you're crazy. But when I researched that, because I never heard of it either, when I researched it, I found out that you have elemental spirits, air, water, fire, earth. If you ever hear of it, something, people talk about leprechauns, fairies, they're earth spirits, okay? Well, a water spirit, if they get into your pipes, they'll tear your pipes up in your house. You'll have all kinds of problems with water in your house. Well, at Central, we've had all kinds of problems with water at that school.
Wow.
Now you say that, it's really weird that you say that. But I believe in ghosts, spirits.
Yeah.
And like I said in the last episode, but if with them, we get done with a football game, and most of the kids be gone by 9:30. And us as coaches sit in the coach's room, have meetings after the game. And, we'd be like one of the last 2 people get ready to leave, and the water just cut on by itself.
Yeah.
And it's one of the push water.
Yeah.
Like you got to hold it down to wash your hands.
Yeah.
So it ain't one where you touch it and it keep playing.
Yeah.
It was like you got to hold it just to get the water to come
I
out.
know what you're talking about.
I'm talking about the water will stay on for like 10 seconds by itself.
Yeah. Whitthorne is haunted.
Whitthorne
is haunted
I
too.
really think now it's the oldest
Yeah.
school that's still in Murray County. Like still.
Well, Whitthorne now is 50 years old this year. That building. Okay, so it's a lot of people now. My JV coach at Whitthorne got killed. And his name was Jack Wisner. And he got killed the year that I was supposed to play with him in the 8th grade. And, I always wondered if he was out there or whatever. But if you run into a man by the name of Tony Brown, legendary history teacher, used to be at Whitthorne. Tony Brown will tell you about stuff at Whitthorne.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Central, we've got documentation. It's on Music City Ghost on YouTube. And anything that you see on there that says haunted school, you'll see it. The last one that we did was back in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
And we did it in the early spring, and we did an investigation. And he set an Xbox Connect up to his computer and looked at the camera through his computer. And we got all kinds of crazy stuff in the culinary room, which is across the hall from me. They left me alone, okay? Which I'm happy about. They left me alone. When I was in the room, my first classroom in the new building, in the vocational building, when I was in that room, they would come down every morning and cut my lights on for me. And most classrooms down there had rooms that you could go in and the light cut on automatically. Mm-hmm. You have to cut my lights on. And I asked them about it. I said, I need y'all to check this out. And they looked on the camera and seen at 4:30 every morning, my lights were cut on. The room across the hall from me, culinary. The reason why we set up in culinary to see what was going on in culinary is because one morning, about 3 o'clock in the morning, she has those doors that you can't keep them. They are shut by, they got a spring up there to make them close.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know what they call them. And at 2 o'clock, the door broke. And I thought some kids may have done something to break the door. I mean, the door was cracked straight down the middle. And she said, can you find out? I said, I'll go up here and ask the SRO what happened. Your girl Duffy. I'm going to talk about Duffy tonight. Duffy never told me what she found on that camera until right before she left. Mm. And I said, Duffy, then all of a sudden Duffy comes up. You keep saying this place is haunted. Is it? I said, yeah. She said, and she wouldn't say nothing. Well, finally, she told me. I said, what was on there? She said, that door opens up and stays open. And then it slams shut. It broke the spring thing and everything out of that door.
We're going to have to quit the ghost stories.
Yeah.
Don't get scared. I mean, I
ain't scared because I've seen them, but I'm kind of scared.
Yeah, we had a... Another teacher, another teacher, I'm not gonna call his name out, but he was teaching one day in class, and his clipboard flies off his desk. And we went in there and set up in his shop, set shop up in his room, and stayed in there for about 2 hours. And they said, because they use this thing called Avalox, and you can put it on your phone if you buy the app. Mm. And it said, why did you do it? It said, I hate these kids. And I was like, man. And the kids were bad that year. He had a little crew that was kind of off the chain. And he threw that clipboard down. I was like, man, that must have been an old teacher was up in it. But when you say that, my own religious experience, I don't want to be stuck at school. I want to go see the king.
Right.
When I leave, I want to go.
Yeah.
It's some people I want to see on the other side. I don't want to be stuck out there at school.
Right.
So, I don't know why they come back.
That would be terrible. Man, well, great stories on the paranormal side. And that's pretty, I already knew you was kind of like that kind of stuff. So it was great to hear some stories from that.
Note to self, I won't work any security at Central anymore.
Yeah, no more schools.
I'll tell you though, if most of the stuff is so subtle, you wouldn't even realize what it was.
Especially at a game or something, basketball game or something.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this one last story real quick about that. The first night that we did something there, they started talking about they were seeing the infrared camera was showing an image of something up in the balcony in the old building.
Mm-hmm. Talking about the auditorium?
In the auditorium, yeah. And it was in the balcony. And we wound up doing a session up in the balcony. And,
I feel like I remember this. I remember you telling me
You
this
probably
story.
heard this right here. I was up in the balcony and there was my ears. You've been outside when it's super cold outside like it was during an ice storm and stay out there for a minute and then come in the house and all of a sudden your ears start burning.
Mm-hmm.
It started burning like that. And it got freezing cold behind me. And I said, man, it's getting cold behind me. And he took the temperature thing and he said the temperature dropped. In front of me, it was like 72. Behind me, it went down like 58.
Wow.
And he said, well, who are you? And it said, did I go to school with you? And it said, yes. And I said, what year? 87, 88. And I said, what's your name? It said, Material Girl. He kept saying that. And I was like, damn. When they went back, he went back and checked the I can't think of the term they call it, but it's EVP.
Okay, yeah.
He went back and checked the EVP on it, and when he checked the EVP out, when I said hello, my name is Garland, I said hello, Garland Brown, how are you? No. I mean, it's just as clear. When he played it for me, man, it made the hair on my back of my neck stand up. I knew who it was. I finally realized who it was, and it was a young lady that got killed in a car wreck. I mean, we were good friends in high school. And the last day of school, the last day at lunch, we sat in her car, and she was playing Madonna on the radio.
Material Girl.
But she didn't get killed in high school. She got killed about 2 years after she graduated from school.
Wow,
that's strange.
Yeah. Yeah.
If y'all here ain't standing on the back of y'all neck right now.
There's some stories, man, with that place right there.
Yeah.
Well, I've had my fair share of ghost stories and paranormal. From the last interview to this one, we're good. We might take a year before we do another one.
Yeah.
What is the conspiracy behind the JFK assassination?
President Kennedy was assassinated on November 22nd, 1963 in Dallas, Texas. A place that he shouldn't have gone, period. Okay, but he went there as a political, he was mending the fences and getting everybody in line for the election next year. And at 12:31, he was in a motorcade, and by all accounts, that motorcade broke every Secret Service rule in the book.
Really?
And number one, at the airport, you see two Secret Service agents start out jogging beside the car, and a man in the car stands up and does them like this. Well, the one that was on the side where his wife was, that's Clint Hill. And the other gentleman, he waved him back. Clint Hill jumps back up on the car. But on that side, it wasn't anywhere for him to jump. So that was President Kennedy's Secret Service man. He winds up staying back at the airport, and Kennedy gets killed. So I'll get into that in just a second about why he was called back off that car. But anyway, President Kennedy is taken to Parkland Memorial Hospital, and if you go to Dealey Plaza, and if you actually go behind the infamous grassy knoll, you can see Parkland Hospital in the distance back there. And, Texas is flat. So you can see a long way, that you can't see here in Columbia because we got hills. And he was taken, it's about 4 or 5 miles away from Dealey Plaza where he was taken, and he dies in the hospital. Okay, from that point on, in Columbia, Tennessee, if a person got killed, after they pronounce their person dead, they're going to do an autopsy on that person, right? Mm-hmm. By law. Yeah. With Texas law, they were supposed to do an autopsy on President Kennedy. They took Kennedy's body, put it in a casket, and basically had a cussing match with the coroner, the medical examiner in Dallas County, and told them we were taking this body back to Washington, D.C., and if you don't move out of the way, we're going to run over you with the GD casket. Okay? Mrs. Kennedy is there. The priest who did last rites on President Kennedy is there. And they rush him out, get the body on the airplane, and for some strange, mysterious reason, the vice president wanted to be sworn in. So they called for Mrs. Kennedy to come up front and leave her husband's casket for maybe about 5 minutes for this oath of office to be sworn in, and then they take off. It's the first time in history, and the only time in history that two presidents been on the same airplane. And they fly back to Washington, D.C. Well, when that plane gets back to Washington, D.C., back when they were trying to do life-saving resuscitation on President Kennedy, the doctor saw a wound in President Kennedy's throat right here. He said that it was about as big around as a pencil eraser. Okay? That he thought was an entrance wound. Okay. If anybody's done any hunting, you know the difference between an entrance wound and an exit wound. And he saw that Kennedy his breathing was labored. He did a tracheotomy on him right there. A very neat wound that he stuck the tube down his throat to get oxygen to his lungs before he passed away. And the other doctor that came in and saw a gaping wound in the back of President Kennedy's head. He said it looked as big as your fist.
It's pretty big.
Okay, right here in the right occipital parietal area of his brain, which is right in there, head. Well, when President Kennedy's body is prepared to be flown back to D.C. and it gets to Bethesda Naval Hospital where the autopsy was going to be performed, the doctors at the autopsy saw this big gash that was in his throat, this big, huge gash. And they saw the hole in the head. And when they started doing the autopsy, they turned Kennedy's back over and they saw a bullet wound in his back. The doctor then took his pinky finger to see if he could probe it, and he got about that much of it in his back. And he said, I feel the end of the tip of the bullet, okay? Well, somebody else was shot in the car with Kennedy. It was the governor of Texas, Conley. Conley is wounded. He's shot in his back. The bullet comes out of his nipple, goes into his wrist, and comes out and lodges itself in his left leg. Wow. Okay? Well, why did I just mention all that? Because they tried to say that the bullet that hit Kennedy in the back came out of his throat, did zigzagging in the air, jumps up and hits Conley in the back, comes out of his nipple into his wrist and into his leg. Governor Conley said to the day he died, he said, we were not hit with the same bullet. He said, I heard Kennedy get hit, and he said, my God, I'm hit. And he turns around and looks that way, and when he's going to turn back around this way is when he gets hit and he falls over. Okay? If that autopsy would have been performed in Dallas, we would have never had this controversy.
Really?
Yes. Now, when you analyze it, the people at the hospital, one of the nurses said she saw a bullet that was right here behind President Kennedy's ear. She saw it sticking out right there. They thought the bullet hit him in the throat and blew the back of his head out.
Well, that would make sense because of the exit one.
Right. But she said, just told you what all happened with that. But anyway, that is what started the controversy about who killed him. Well, less than 45 minutes after President Kennedy's killed, the police in Dallas in Oak Cliff which is probably about 7 miles away from where President Kennedy got killed, were called to a movie theater where a man did not pay to go into the movie theater, and that man was Oswald.
Yeah.
And that's how Oswald worked in the book depository, and he was missing when they did roll call. When they talked to the guy who took him to work, they took him to work, and he said, well, Oswald he would usually ride with me on Friday home, but he asked to go home with me on Thursday. I took him home. He got up next morning. He said, Lee, why you going so early? He said, I'm going to get some curtain rods to put in my apartment. Now, him and his wife weren't staying in the same house. His wife was staying with a lady named Ruth Payne, who just passed away recently. And Oswald was staying in a rooming house in Oak Cliff. Okay? All right. They arrest Oswald. They take Oswald to the police station, and they question him for 36 hours at the police station. When they get ready to transfer Oswald to the county jail, which is around the corner from the police station, and also the county jail is also very close to Dealey Plaza.
Okay.
Oswald is being transported by two Dallas detectives, handcuffed to him. A man jumps out of the crowd, shoots Oswald in the stomach, and kills him.
I remember that.
Okay? Oswald's dead. Kennedy's dead. Dead men do not tell tales. We do not know who Oswald is. You go right now and find probably 500 books on Oswald and who he was. Oswald, 6 weeks before the assassination of President Kennedy, catches a bus and goes to Mexico City. Why did he go to Mexico City? He went to Mexico City to try to get a visa to go back to get into Cuba. Okay? He goes to the Soviet embassy in Mexico City and meets with the man who's over assassinations in the Western Hemisphere. Okay? Well, J. Edgar Hoover, who's the head of the FBI, says, well, the man that they saying is Oswald, is the man that we took a picture of, that's not Oswald. Because they had cameras set up all around the Soviet embassy filming people going in and out.
Yeah.
And the man that they said was Oswald was older and bigger, more stockier than Oswald was. To this day, we don't know who that person is. So the bottom line about the JFK assassination, without getting into it, because I could sit here and talk for 6 hours on that.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's multiple levels on that. Basically, you had the greatest lie that ever was told besides Santa Claus. Because to this day, it's my conclusion that Oswald didn't even shoot a gun. Now, he may have been involved in it.
Sure.
He may have taken a gun up there. But he didn't kill anybody. And it's also with the one thing that President Trump has done. He released the JFK file. And the stuff that they've come out with them files, all the things that people been saying for 60 years, all of a sudden, there's certain things coming out of those files that's now making sense. Like, Oswald was probably an informant or some type of low-level intelligence agent that was working in multiple different things. And that's how the mafia probably got a hold of him.
Probably covered them up.
Yeah, they was covering it up. Yeah. So they wanted, and also one of the big things that they found out about that is that 2 years before the assassination took place, Oswald's file was taken out of the regular files, and the director of the CIA counterintelligence had his file. So they tried to pretend like we didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
Everybody knew who Oswald was, but then they tried to pretend like they didn't know who he was after it was over with.
Yeah.
It's also information to suggest that Oswald, we just told you President Kennedy got killed on November 22nd. November the 14th, a week before the assassination, he went through Tampa, Florida. There was another assassination planned on that day. November the 6th in Soldier Field, he was going to the Army-Navy football game. And it was a person named Lee that called and gave the Secret Service information about a guy that was going to attempt to kill President Kennedy. There, it was two Puerto Rican assassins that was going to kill President Kennedy there. So it's coming out.
Yeah.
And people, if you want to read, you can. And you mentioned the story about the guy, the Secret Service man shooting from the car. Mm-hmm. That guy that made that story up said that, you know, nobody wanted to know why come the Secret Service didn't shoot back. And they claimed that this guy pulled his gun out and was going to shoot back and shot him in the head. That's just total disinformation right there that was put out that story has been around for probably about 35 years. And it's not true at all, because if you know what type of wound it was. Mm-hmm. But going back in 2013, I was nominated as Teacher of the Year by the JFK Lancet Committee. They sent me the invitation in September. I thought it was a joke. Didn't believe it. And sent it, because I get stuff at school. People would send stuff to me at school, you know, and I saw it. And I want to say maybe 2 weeks later, I got an email and say, hey, you've been invited to come down here. Well, my wife has kin people in Dallas. Mm-hmm. So she was like, if you want to go, we can go down there. And I said, yeah, okay, if they're going to pay for it, I'll go. So they paid for it. We went down there, and I wound up going. The lady who was a crime scene reconstructionist for the city of Dallas Police Department, retired with 35 years of law enforcement experience. Wow. Her name is Sherry Feaster. Sherry Feaster took me down. She was the sister to the person who set the conference up. That's the lady who told me when I was there, you the teacher from Tennessee, make sure you get back with me in about an hour, because she said, you know, you're a special guest here today with us. Mm-hmm. And they set me at the front. You know, I'm sitting up at the front, sitting with Oliver Stone and sitting with people. And I was like, man, it was blowing my mind. I got to meet the man that got me interested in JFK assassination back when I was 10.
Wow.
My fourth grade teacher, Miss Maddie T. Wright. I got a comic book called Ghosts. Why I bought the Ghost comic book, I don't know, because I didn't like the Ghost comic book. I like Superman, Justice League, and all this stuff. I got a Ghost comic book. It's about a digest size, about that big. And on the back page of that comic book, it mentioned that presidents that was elected in a year ending in 0 died in office. And that was 1980. It was right before the presidential election. So I was reading that, and that kind of like was messing with my mind. Mm-hmm. At 10, you know, I'm 10 looking at this stuff, right? So I got to school, and I asked that, before I got to school, I asked my grandma, hey, did you remember JFK or John Kennedy? Yeah, I was sitting here and watching him get killed on TV. Talked to my mama later on that night. Mama, do you remember President Kennedy? Yeah, I was at beauty school when they killed President Kennedy. You know, they sent everybody home. And I got to school Monday, and I asked Miss Wright, did you see President? She said, yeah, we was at school and they let him out. Well, she saw that I got an interest in that. Mm-hmm. That Friday of that week, she said, Garland, they having a book sale at the library. Go down to the library and see if you can find a book on John Kennedy and do me a book report, and I'll give you an extra credit for it. Mm. And I went to the library that Saturday and found a book down there called 6 Seconds in Dallas. Josiah Thompson wrote the book. Wow. Josiah Thompson was at the conference. Man. He did a presentation. Mm-hmm. I go to the bathroom, washing my hands, and he's sitting there, he's washing his hands. Simon, I said, Professor, I wanted you to know that you're the reason why I'm here. And he said, huh? And I told him the story I just told you. And he was like, you read that book when you were 10? I said, yeah. Because he had some great pictures in the book. You know, if nothing else, I was looking at the pictures. Yeah, yeah. And he was like, well, you knew my new best friend. And he was the one who got me to introduce me to all these authors, all the books that you saw in my room on the Kennedy assassination. Mm-hmm. I met just about every author of those books.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot of information, and that's just clip notes.
And that's
version. Yeah, I didn't go into the
I mean, I always knew about the assassination, but I've never really dove into the depth of it. That's crazy. So you may not want to say, but in your opinion, or in your theory, is who killed the president?
Same people running the country now.
There you go.
I don't have no hesitation in saying that. It's the same people, and what folk don't understand, and let me clarify when I say that. The moneyed interests.
Right.
Okay.
The government act.
Well, it's not the government. If people think the government is doing this and government's doing that, it's the money.
Mm-hmm.
It's the money behind the people in the government. And when you have billionaires, I had a man at that conference tell me something that day, and it stayed in my mind to now. And now I'm starting to understand what he said, because he said that the billionaires overthrew the country on 9/11. And I'm like, what? There wasn't no billionaires did that. That was Bin Laden. Now I'm understanding what he's talking about, because when you look at who benefited from these things, who benefited from 9/11. I mean, not to say that it wasn't Bin Laden that did, because I believe that story. But when you break that down, who actually benefited from it? Who took that and used it for their own purposes? And you got wars going on in the Middle East that the United States is involved in. We was never involved in that mess over there before then. It's something that can't be won, and we've gotten tied up in the 2 and maybe even 3 conflicts over there. So the same people, the Texas oil men, what happened after 9/11? The first thing that happened after 9/11, gas went up.
Yeah.
Gas is still up right now. Gas shouldn't be over $1.75 a gallon. It's $2.30 something, $2.50 something, or even more when you go to Nashville. Nobody even saying anything about that right now.
Yeah.
You know, it used to be if a hurricane hit, the gas went up. So what has happened since President Kennedy died, 1963, to now? You have more inflation. Everything has gone up, and pretty much the social fabric of the whole United States has been knocked out of whack. And then the same people who killed President Kennedy 5 years later killed Martin Luther King, killed his brother. Now, you know, we can debate all day. Anybody wants to debate me on that. And I've got almost just as much research into Martin Luther King assassination I got in JFK assassination. And I've talked to people who was there when Martin Luther King got killed.
Yeah.
You know, so it's
on another show for that.
Yeah, it's the same stuff that keeps popping up over and over again. And guess who's paying for it? They got us right now in the country. This is my political statement for tonight. Right now in the country, I don't care what side you on. If you Democrat or Republican, you still got to go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
And people need to think about that.
That's true.
It ain't got no belt at the grocery store. I don't care who the president's been.
That's very true.
Okay? I don't care who they were, Democrat, Republican. It's the same foolishness coming down on who? The regular, everyday working man.
Yep. I mean, it costs us anywhere $200 to $300 for
Easy.
for food. Yeah.
Easy.
I mean, just a family.
You can go get one bag of groceries cost you $100.
Yeah.
And that's my statement on it. That's something for everybody to think about.
Everybody need to think
with
about
the
that.
with the political thing that's coming up right now. People, you got rage baiters.
Oh yeah.
Influencing politics, and all they do is get you pissed off and mad about something that's only affecting 1% of the people.
Yeah, you're right about
Everybody got to go to the grocery store. Everybody got to go to the gas station.
Yep. Yep.
That is true. That's pretty good. I mean, that's it.
Get the knowledge, man.
Well, Garland, man, we greatly appreciate it.
Yeah.
We had a blast. I loved it. Learned a few things I didn't know. So hope y'all enjoyed it. Kenneth, you got anything, man?
I'm just glad you came and be on the show.
No problem.
Thank you for being an introduction to my life.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. All right, guys. Y'all have a good night. Remember to like, share, and comment, and please subscribe to the channel. That helps us get more videos out. We hope y'all have a good night. This is the K Express Show. We'll see you next time.